You know how life sometimes just doesn't stick to the script. You've got your plans, your goals all mapped out, and then suddenly, nope, something unexpected happens.
Yeah, like a door slams shut right in your face.
Exactly. Or the path you were so sure about takes a sharp turn. Or you just hit these setbacks that, well, they can really take the wind out of your sails.
It happens to everyone.
And it's right there, in those frustrating moments, those detours, that our deep dive today might offer maybe a different way to look at things.
Right. We're going to explore this whole idea of trusting God's ways. It's a concept drawn from a message by Osteen, actually.
Okay.
And think about it in your own life, those times things didn't pan out, a job maybe, or a relationship ends, or some dream just hits a wall.
Yeah.
That's exactly where this idea of trusting let's say, a larger purpose can become really relevant.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to get into that perspective.
Yeah.
Why do these difficulties, these surprises happen, and how can you, listening right now, navigate them?
Not just navigate, but maybe navigate them with a sense of underlying trust, even anticipation.
Right. Looking at the possibility that these setbacks aren't just random noise, but could actually be part of something bigger, something we just can't see yet.
Let's start with that first big idea then, the larger plan. The source material we're looking at really leans on this scriptural idea that everything ultimately works towards a divine purpose.
Everything.
Well, yeah, not just the good stuff, the easy wins, but also the tough times, the storms, those closed doors we mentioned.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Because everything serves God's plan. I mean, that sounds huge, maybe a bit abstract when you're, dealing with a real problem right now. What does that actually look like day to day?
Well, the interesting thing is the perspective it offers. It suggests a time scale, a viewpoint that's just way beyond our own immediate grasp, right? So you might be totally focused on the disappointment, the plan failing right now. But this message kind of invites you to zoom out. Think of a big tapestry, every thread, even the dark ones, the ones that look out of place up close, they all contribute to the final picture.
That makes sense, like looking really close at a painting, just blobs of paint. Step back and, oh, okay, now I see it.
Exactly. And the message uses a great analogy, too. Sometimes God might take us a step back, not to stop us, but actually to build momentum for a bigger leap forward.
Or closing a door isn't rejection, but redirection. Especially if we've gotten maybe a bit too comfortable, a bit stuck where we are. Have you ever felt that? Like, you need a change, but you're just not making it happen.
Oh, absolutely. That comfortable rut feeling is powerful. And connecting that back, the message frames those tough spots, those moments of trouble, not as dead ends,
right,
but as transportation or even a setup. It's not meant to stop you cold, but maybe to push you towards a new level, a destiny you hadn't even considered.
So it shifts the whole focus, really, from just gritting your teeth and enduring it to actually looking for where it might be leading. But the key thing seems to be your mindset while you're in it. Choosing to trust, even when things look pretty grim, holding on to that feeling that something better is coming, even if everything around you is yelling the opposite.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Because the gut reaction to trouble is often, frustration, anger, maybe despair. It's hard work to shift that gear into trust when you're right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But this message suggests that doing that work, cultivating that trust, that belief in something bigger is exactly what gives you a different kind of strength to get through it.
Okay, so to make this more concrete, the message uses a really powerful story from the Bible. The feeding of the 5,000. Incredible moment, right?
Unbelievable abundance, yeah.
Followed almost immediately by the disciples getting caught in this terrifying storm on the Sea of Galilee. Feels like such a deliberate contrast.
That juxtaposition is really striking. You have this massive blessing, this miracle. I mean, imagine being there. 5 loaves, 2 fish, feeding thousands, baskets left over. It must have felt like pure victory, pure favor.
They must have been riding such a high. Anything feels possible at that point. And then, boom, Jesus tells them, get in the boat, go across the lake to Bethsaida.
Yeah, and the source material points out that Jesus actually constrained them. It implies they probably didn't want to leave that place of success.
Have you ever had that? Like a big win, and then suddenly you're being pushed into something uncertain.
It's unsettling, for sure, when that forward momentum just gets interrupted, and that night, crossing the lake, this huge storm blows up.
Yeah.
The Bible really emphasizes it. These were experienced fishermen, right? They knew the waters.
But they were in serious trouble.
Oh, yeah. Terrified. Winds, waves they thought they were going down.
And here's the kicker, the part that makes you really pause. Jesus was the one who told them to get in that boat. He basically sent them right into the storm's path.
Seems totally backwards, doesn't it?
Completely. Why lead people from a peak moment straight into danger?
Yeah.
What do you think was going through their minds then? Doubt? Fear?
All of the above, probably. Confusion, too.
Yeah.
They'd just seen his incredible power, this life-giving miracle, and now this. It feels like a total contradiction.
Right.
And that's where this message offers that key insight. Sometimes, what looks like a step back or feels like danger might actually be serving a larger, unseen purpose.
Which leads to this idea of the storm's real destination. The message suggests it wasn't meant to just batter them or sink them. It had a purpose, a different place in mind.
Exactly, and the contrast it draws between Bethsaida, where they were told to go, and Genessa, where they ended up, is really interesting. Bethsaida is described as more desolate, less fruitful, maybe representing a place that's familiar, maybe even comfortable in its own way, but not where the real growth happens.
Okay, and Genessa?
Genessa is painted as the opposite. A flourishing garden, abundance, almost paradise. And the crucial point is, the storm, as rough as it was, didn't push them back. It actually blew them towards this new, more prosperous place, Genessa.
Wow. So connecting that to us, to the listener, this message gives a really powerful way to reframe things. If you're stuck in a storm, a tough time that just keeps going,
Yeah.
maybe it's worth asking if that storm hasn't finished its job yet. Maybe its purpose is to get you to your Genessa, that place of greater abundance that's waiting.
That totally changes how you might look at ongoing struggles, doesn't it?
Yeah. Instead of just focusing on the hardship, you're thinking, okay, where is this redirecting me? The message also talks about those negative voices inside, calls them enemy whispers, that try to convince you the storm only leads to a dead end, a barren place, a bada, he calls it.
Right. And those whispers are usually rooted in fear, aren't they? Wanting to go back to what's known, even if it's not really working anymore.
So how do people tell the difference between those fear voices and maybe a real gut feeling that something needs to change?
That's a great question. The message really encourages actively rejecting those fear-based stories, holding on to the belief in that better future, that Genessa. It even brings in the Psalms, talking about going through fire and flood to reach a place of great abundance. It reinforces that idea. Challenges often come right before major growth.
To make it even clearer, the message shares some real-world examples, these forced into the boat kind of moments. One was about someone laid off after like 30 years of loyal service.
Oof. Yeah.
In that spot, it's so easy to feel betrayed, worthless, just completely adrift.
Absolutely. That kind of shock can be incredibly painful, but the perspective here suggests reframing it.
Yeah.
Instead of just seeing disloyalty or failure,
Yeah.
could it be a catalyst? Could it be, God kind of pushing you out into the boat towards something maybe even better, something more aligned with who you are now that you wouldn't have looked for yourself?
Then there's the Tony Dungy story. Coach Dungy, fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers even though he was having success.
Right. Must have felt like a massive setback at the time. A real blow. But look what happened. That closed door in Tampa. It led directly to him coaching the Indianapolis Colts and winning the Super Bowl, the ultimate prize in his field.
It's such a clear example of needing one door to close, maybe even slam shut, for a bigger, better one to open.
Makes you wonder about other times, doesn't it? Maybe historical moments, inventions that failed over and over before the breakthrough.
Or businesses that crashed before the founder hit on the right idea. It's that perseverance through the storm leading to the unexpected Genessa.
And the personal story Joel Osteen shares about his own father passing away unexpectedly after they'd worked side by side in ministry for 17 years. I mean, that's an unimaginable storm.
Yeah.
But that experience, as deeply painful as it obviously was, became the turning point. It pushed him into the speaking and leadership role he has now.
It shows how even the hardest things, the storms we absolutely do not want, can sometimes clear the way for strengths we didn't know we had, a path we never imagined.
It really brings home that idea that sometimes, as the message puts it, God has to stir your nest.
Stir your nest.
Yeah. We get comfortable, right? Stuck in routines, even if they're not really serving our potential. And these disruptions, they can be the jolt we need to get us out of that comfort zone and towards something more. Have you ever had a nest-stirring moment?
Maybe a few. They're not fun at the time, usually.
No, definitely not fun. But looking back, you often see they were pivotal, right? Points of growth, redirection. Which brings us back to the main theme, trusting God through it all.
Right, because the message is clear. We, with our limited view, we won't always get why these storms happen, why doors close. His ways aren't always our ways. as the saying goes.
And that's where faith really kicks in, isn't it? Making that active choice to trust even when it makes zero logical sense, even when you feel like you're being led away from blessing and into the storm.
It's a trust that has to go beyond just understanding everything.
Exactly. Think back to that picture of Jesus walking on the water during the storm, telling the disciples, "Don't be afraid, I'm here. It's going to be okay." That resonates so much when you're feeling overwhelmed by your own challenges, right? It's that reminder. Even in the chaos, there's a presence, a reassurance available.
And finding peace in the storm, the message says, isn't just about feeling better emotionally. It's actually a position of power.
How so?
Well, it lets you tap into something deeper, that inner strength to overcome whatever's trying to pull you down. It's about not letting the outside storm dictate your inside state.
That's good. And it's important to remember, too, in the disciple story, Jesus didn't just snap his fingers and make the storm disappear the second they got scared.
No, he didn't.
The storm had to run its course.
Right.
Which suggests that sometimes we just have to go through it. Navigate the waves, trusting we're not alone and there's a purpose, even if it's rough going.
The message then connects this to another part of the Bible, the book of Acts, chapter 8, the early church.
Right. Initially, things were amazing in Jerusalem. Growth, favor, the Holy Spirit moving powerfully. Lots of people believing. It sounds like their Bethsaida moment, a place of blessing.
Totally. But then suddenly, this huge wave of persecution hits, really intense, and it forces all the believers in Jerusalem to scatter. They flee to Judea, Samaria.
They didn't choose to leave. They were basically forced out by the opposition. It definitely wasn't their plan to abandon this thriving center.
And here's the key point the message draws out.
Right.
God obviously could have stopped the persecution.
Yeah.
But instead, he seems to have used it.
Yeah.
Used that very hardship as the way to spread Christianity beyond just Jerusalem. What looked like a disaster, a scattering, actually served a much bigger purpose they couldn't have seen at the time.
It's another really powerful lens for looking at our own difficulties, isn't it? Even negative things, opposition that feels aimed right at you, could, without even knowing it, be part of a bigger plan, pushing you into new areas, new opportunities, maybe a wider impact than you ever imagined staying put. It's quite a thought.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, the big encouragement seems to be this. Even when you're right in the middle of your own storm, God is still in control.
There's still an order to your steps, even if the path looks completely blocked or chaotic.
It's about pushing back against those negative thoughts, the ones whispering about a bleak future, that
Right, and intentionally cultivating that expectation of an abundant future instead, that Janessa that's waiting. It's like an invitation to get your fire back, your passion, believing your best days are still ahead.
Those losses, those closed doors, they don't have to be the end of the story. They might actually be the detours redirecting you somewhere even better than you first planned.
And that's such a hopeful idea to hold on to. What feels like your darkest hour, the worst storm, can actually be the launch pad for your brightest moments, your biggest blessings.
It's often in those moments where we feel most defeated that something new gets forged inside us. Resilience, strengths. Ultimately, the message leaves us with this really compelling image. The winds that feel like they should tear you down, the forces that seem set against you.
Yeah.
They can actually be shifted. They can become the very winds that blow you into favor, into healing, into breakthroughs, into a future full of abundance.
Whoa. So as you go about your day, maybe take a moment. Reflect on any storms you might be navigating right now. Could they, maybe in some unexpected way, be redirecting you? Pointing you towards your own Janessa, a place of surprising abundance. Perhaps trusting right there in the middle of the uncertainty, even when you can't see the path clearly, maybe that's the key that unlocks blessings and opportunities far beyond what you can currently imagine.
It's a reminder that difficulties aren't always endpoints, are they?
Not at all. Often they're the turning points, the unexpected routes to extraordinary destinations.